They're just like, I'm going to show up, I'm going to do what I can. I'm going to show up again, I'm going to do what I can. I'm going to show up, I'm going to notice whether I am changing, whether I'm transforming, whether whatever. And so when I say that change is mandatory, what I'm basically saying is that if you want the quality of your life to improve in every which possible way, then you have to, this is a dangerous territory for me because there are so many different opinions about how to eat better so that you're not only losing the weight again, if it's not about the losing the weight thing, as I said, it's really about, we struggle with getting right to the solution. Like, oh, this is bad, that is wrong, they screwed up, those numbers are incorrect. We don't have, I thought we had that much in the bank. Oh, we don't even have a third of that. What? Okay, what do we do? And then so let's get right into it, shall we? Enough dilly-dally, enough, inappropriate topics that have nothing to do with your personal growth and your change and what you need out of your life. Now, the first one is, are you ready? Here it is. It's called change, aka transformation, aka moving forward, aka learning, improving, whatever it is. And I'm talking all aspects of your life, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, relationship-wise. And this is something that was very hard for me for a very long time. When I was younger, when I should have been really focusing on it a lot more, I wasn't really thinking about change. I was pretty happy where I was. I kind of figured out I had all the answers. I've been to college. I almost graduated. What other transformation or change or progress does a guy need? And what happens is that if you're not curious and you're not meeting new people and you're not reading cool books that have neat ideas in them so that you can think about them neat ideas and start to apply those ideas to your life, those things might be the antithesis of what you're already doing. And so that usually conjures up some fear and trepidation. All right. And fear and trepidation are real. And fear and trepidation are there to remind you that you can either stay where you are and not change, which actually means you're not just not changing, you're regressing, because the rest of the world who's trying to improve and who's trying to change and who's trying to transform their lives and their thoughts and their concepts and their strategies and their ideas, they're all moving. They're like, I get this, Tony Horton, I understand this 100%. So change is mandatory. Write that down. Change is not optional. No. Not occasional, kind of when you want to, when you feel safe. Change is mandatory all the time. Now, does it have to be this relentless, gerbil on a wheel going round and round where you feel like I've just learned something and now I got to change it again? I mean, you think about when you bought P90X, some of you, or P90X2, which was, hello. All right, P90X, hard. I mean, for a lot of people for the very first time. It wasn't hard for people who are already pretty athletic and they're like, football players and soccer players and maybe former Olympic gymnasts or something, right? Because everybody has so many rungs in their ladder depending on how far up that ladder they want to go. Now, I've mentioned my friend Vache here several times. I don't know if he's looking in. Hey, Vach. He was not in shape. Let's just put it that way. I'll put it kindly. Let me finish that sentence. Not in shape at all in any way, shape, or form when I met him. But he had reached the end of his rope about feeling that way. Now, maybe because it was meeting me and he knew who I was but he came to me, he sells awnings, beautiful. If you need awnings anywhere in Southern California, he's your guy. I've got a few of them on my house. And we were just two strangers who met, looking at, the project that I needed done. And he just, he had the gumption, I love that word, gumption, to just ask me some questions. Hey, what do I do? What should I, give me some basic intel. He was ready to change. He was open to change. Was it mandatory for him at that point? I don't think he was thinking that way, but he did know that it had to happen and that he didn't like where he was any longer. And that's sort of the same thing with anybody who had the courage to pick up P90X for the first time, who maybe they were fit, maybe you weren't. But even if you were pretty fit, that muscle confusion, as we call it, made up term, It's a made-up term. Don't get uptight. It's not a real thing. We just thought, oh, muscle confusion. What we're basically saying there is we're gonna work the muscles in ways that maybe you've never seen before, sequences that you've never experienced before, particular exercises that were brand new to you, the speed and the pace of certain things, breaking up certain moves with other moves that you've never seen, right? So that was the whole idea. I mean, I just did a workout here in Jackson Hole with 4 other people, and I ran them through some animal flow. We did some strength work on a pull-up bar. We're kind of moving around the pull-up bar, did some funky stuff on med balls and stability balls. And these were 5 fit people, great skiers, charging down the mountain. They were freaking out tonight. And there was a lot of I can'ts, right? And I said, yeah, of course you can't, because you've never done this before. In your mind, you know you're pretty fit, because you look good and you can ski well. But I'm introducing other things, some compound movements that don't involve skiing or don't involve anything, mountain biking or anything else that you've done. But if you do these types of things that I'm showing you, then all the other things that you enjoy in your life, all the athletic endeavors, all the other kind of exercises you do will become easier and better. And your speed will improve, and your range of motion will improve, and your balance will improve. And even for some hardcore athletes, there was some fear and trepidation. But everything up to that point when I met them tonight, they had done everything when it came to, I want to be a better skier. So they skied 60, 70, 80, 100 days a year. They figure it out. They go to work, they have kids, they have jobs. Going to work and having jobs, same thing. But because they love the sport so much, they don't think about how long that transformation will take. You know what I mean? There's no concern. They're just like, I'm going to show up, I'm going to do what I can. I'm going to show up again, I'm going to do what I can. I'm going to show up, I'm going to notice whether I am changing, whether I'm transforming, whether whatever. And so when I say that change is mandatory, what I'm basically saying is that if you want the quality of your life to improve in every which possible way, then you have to be absolutely okay with opening up the door and going in again and opening up another door and going in again and falling on your face and making mistakes and looking bad at stuff, you know? And when we were growing up, and I know I've used this metaphor 575,000 times, we never questioned that we had to spend mostly an entire year in a particular grade. You know, like reading, writing, and arithmetic. You know, you go to get in there right after summer, and then you're there until spring with some vacations in between, and then you get a break, and then you get all new courses and all new teachers and all new homerooms and all new, like, you know, I was scared to death all the time. Change was mandatory for me then because somebody else said you had to do it, and they were parents and they were teachers, and they said you had to do it. Now, when you're done with the school part and you've got a job, that there's no one around. It's like your parents are still saying, yeah, you need to read more, you need to work harder, or you need to get a promotion at work. It's kind of at that point up to you. It's up to you. And so if you want to continue to have the kind of joy, happiness, and laughter and adventure and excitement and curiosity and friendships and patience that I think you deserve, then you have to figure out there's got to be constant growth. Change is mandatory. Where do you go to find it? What book? What seminar? What yoga retreat with me and Ted at the end of January? You know what I mean? Like, you have to, and a lot of this stuff, buying a book doesn't cost a whole lot of money. You know what I mean? Going to a yoga class, you pay for the yoga class. You go to a boxing gym and you start boxing. You know what I mean? Like, what you write down, and I'm going to get to the very last one, which is I'm not going to tell you what it is. All right? It's basically asking for what you need. And then when you ask yourself, well, I'm not going to do it now. We'll get to it at the end. All right, so enough about change is mandatory. You can no longer be stagnant. You can no longer just assume that everything you're doing right now is going to take you through the next 10, 20, 30 years. It's not going to go well for you. It just won't. It's just look around you. Look around at the people who have been doing the same crap over and over again, and they're afraid of getting outside of their comfort zone and trying new stuff. You know what I mean? I mean, they're just stagnant, period. And I don't think you want that. Change is mandatory. All right. Here's why I'm going to shift gears a little bit. I'm going to read exactly what I wrote here. Your weight, your body weight, doesn't matter. But then again, it sort of does. So I'm saying two things that are the antithesis of one another. And here's what I mean by that. If you're training and eating for the sole purpose to lose weight, like that's the reason I want to see the numbers come down. I want to see not only the weight come off, I want to see the inches come off. I want to see the aesthetic change. That's it. I don't care about quality of life. I don't care about my balance. I don't care about my range of motion. I don't care about my athleticism. I don't care about the joy, happiness, and laughter because of all the brain chemicals that can happen when I do it. I just want to see those numbers come down. And maybe that's enough for a while, for whatever it is, a month or 2 or 3 or 4, maybe half a year or a year. But in all my experience, in the last, 30 plus years I've been doing this, it is not sustainable. It is not motivating enough. It's not truly a raison d'etre. It's too much about your ego wanting this thing in the future that is unpredictable. All right? So that's when you have to decide, okay, the weight, that can't be my reason anymore. It cannot be my reason anymore. And I know I've said this many times, but I'm trying to say it in such a way so that maybe it sticks this time. I want it to stick in, right? So if you just say, okay, well, Tony said that the weight doesn't matter. I'm going to get to why it does after I get through this little piece. Because it's bumming you out, all right? It's making you frustrated. It's not going at the pace that you want it to happen. And so then you start starving yourself and you start doing whatever. Things can become very desperate because you're looking down at that scale and you're looking at the belt, loops, and you're looking at the inches, and you can't predict. I don't know. Maybe if you're a world-class athlete who's gained 25 pounds, then you'll have a better sense of how your body can transform because you've been there and done that. But if you haven't before, and all these exercises that I bring to you and all these programs and all these ways to eat are new to you, you're going to be so optimistic at the beginning. I mean, look at what's going to happen on January 1st. Everybody's going to jump in and this is it. I mean, why do we keep making this ridiculous mistake? And it becomes too much about the weight and the inches and the belt line and the dress sizes and all right? That is your ego. It's going to ruin the whole trip for you. Ruin it. And it also has to do with you thinking too much about what other people think of you. That's what that's about. Like, compliments are great. Hey, look at Tony's arm. You know what I mean? I do it as well. But it can't be priority one. It just can't because you're going to be disappointed it doesn't work. All right? So change your reason why. And it's not, if you can, and here's the reason why you need to get on the scale. It's just a way to check to see if you're moving in the right direction. That's all. And sometimes you're going to lose 2 or 3 pounds quicker than you thought. And sometimes you're going to be stuck at a certain weight for a week and a half. And you're not going to know why. And you're doing everything right. And so you're asking yourself all these questions. And you're looking at other people. Just keep showing up and eating healthy foods and exercising 5 to 7 days a week until you're 109. And that's all you have to do. Notice things like, I feel better. Is that happening? You can write that down. You go, here I am, week 3. Do I feel better? Yes or no? And if you feel worse after doing everything right, then you're doing something wrong. You know what I mean? You really are. Am I sleeping better? Does my sex drive improve? This is part of the deal. All right? Just write it down. Yes or no? Do I feel stronger? Am I more flexible? Is the quality of what I'm doing, my range of motion, my flexibility, is that improving? Now, if you're working really hard and you're not doing any yoga whatsoever, then that answer is probably no for a lot of you. For some of you, it'll be yes, but for a lot of you, it's not. All right? So here's the deal. If weight is your main focus, if inches is your main focus, if belt sizes and dress sizes is your main focus, fail. F minus. All right? But if all those other things about your joy and your happiness, your quality of life and your strength and your balance, blah, and all the things that really matter, your athleticism, your mood, right? These all change first, second, third day of starting a program. It starts right away. Oxygen going in, body moving, activating, muscles, tendons, bones, ligaments, everything, all right? And then you get on the scale once in a while just to see if it's going good. That's all. It doesn't matter, but sometimes it does, because it's okay to check in. All right. The all or nothing thing. I haven't got on the scale in 10 years and blah, blah. Okay. Hey, man, that's great. 10 years and you haven't been on the scale and you're happy with everything. You sleep better. You have more range of motion. You're happier in general. You know what I mean? You can physically go up the stairs with a couple of suitcases when the escalators are out. You know, I mean, you're signing up for heli ski trips. You're coming to the Tony Ted yoga retreat because that change, showing up in Jackson Hole with a bunch of strangers. All right, I'm going to get to scary and a little bit dangerous. That's on my list tonight. I hope I made that clear. Does that make clear, everybody? All right, great. And speaking of scary and mildly dangerous, and I'm going to go to the story about the 5 people that I just worked out with. You should have seen their faces when I showed them a crunchy lever. You should have seen their faces when I showed them froggers. You should have seen their faces when I told them to stand on the backside of a Bosu ball with one foot while taking a dumbbell and reaching across their body, tapping the dumbbell on the Bosu ball and then pressing it up over their head. Like, you know, we're not talking about jumping off a 30-foot cliff with skis on, which a lot of people do around here. And I'm sure all 5 of them, I mean, I know one of them, he was my ski instructor 2 days ago. His name is Gayan. And the guy rips. He's 55, I think, 55 years old. And he rips, right? But when I was, I mean, here's the thing about him. He's like all gung-ho. But the other 4 were like, whoa, 3 of them came to watch. I said, you're here in the gym with me, and we're about to do a bunch of stuff that you've never done before. You know, some of the stuff switching from hand to hand, all the handles on the pull-up bar, because, you know, some of them they're wide and they're narrow and they're all these different angles. So I'm just getting on one and doing a bunch of pull-ups. We transferred from one to the next and back and forth as far as you could. And they're like, oh, that's too, like, it's just, that seems scary. I don't want to do that. I go, well, what if I spot you and you just do 2 or 3 and see how that goes? All right. So the reason why I want to say that you should add scary things that are just a wee bit. I mean, you don't have to be Tom Cruise on a motorcycle and then jump off a cliff 18 times and then pull the chute like he did in Mission Impossible. Like, that guy is just like, you know, or hanging. He's literally hanging on the side of an airplane in the movie before. Like, he just understands that there's a learning curve and that he's going to go to the experts and he's going to go figure this stuff out. Now, that's super scary and very dangerous. Now, some people just, oh, you know what? I'm a pretty good rock climber. I'm just going to go ice climb, you know, because I want to learn that. And for a lot of people, they're just stuck in this place where everything is safe and their life is dull and boring. And there's large amounts of sadness and depression in that space. And so they go to their doctor and pharmacist and they get medications to alter their mental state to deal with their lack of adventure. So, you know how many people come to my yoga retreat? I keep bringing this up. And it's like, oh, I've known about it for 5 years and I finally thought, oh, I got to do it. You know what I mean? We're doing yoga and skiing and snowboarding. You can do the super beginner stuff, and you already do yoga, I would assume. You know what I mean? I would hope if you've done any of my programs. But because you're getting on an airplane and you're another part of the country and you're coming to an icy cold place like Wyoming and it's not a cheap thing and you're going to be, you know, let's say you can't get a friend or a spouse to come with you and you're going to go by yourself and then you got to meet new people and then they're going to see who you really are, especially by the end of the second day. And there's a lot of fear and trepidation there. But you signed up and you got in the aeroplane and you came here and you kind of hunkered down and you looked around and you just sort of felt things out. And by the time Sunday rolls around, it's the greatest trip of your life. It's the best thing you've ever done. I mean, I've heard that over and over and over again. That was me. I knew about heli skiing for decades. Yeah, I'll never do that. I'm never going to do that. I like skiing. Skiing in the backcountry, avalanches, death. You know what I mean? Like there's all this. And so yeah, I mean, just, you know, I've been in the backcountry and you're just skiing in snow over your face and there's no one else around and you have your beacon and you have your shovel and you have your probe and you're ready and you're around with, you know, you're with guides and it's scary and a little bit dangerous. But there's this exhilaration that comes from that. Do you have to go backcountry skiing with me? Do you have to get on a helicopter and then go heli skiing with me? No. Now remember, these are two things that at one point in my life, there was no way on earth I need to do that. But you work on, you start. Here's my first rung on my ladder. Okay, I'm gonna go to Jackson Hole. That place is really steep and scary, but I'm gonna go and then you look around, and you meet some people, and you make some turns, and you go on that run, and oh wow, it's kind of steep over here, and oh, it's kind of narrow, and then you get through it, and all right, and then your confidence builds, all right, and then things become more familiar, and the scary and the dangerous go away, and then you need to find the next thing, and the next thing, and then the thing, all right, and there's stuff beyond those two things that are even more gnarly, as we say here in Cali, that could kill you. You know what I mean? Like, I saw something on Instagram today. Some guy takes a ramp in between these two apartment buildings, and the ramp goes straight up. I don't know if anybody saw that. And it just goes up into the air. He's going as fast as he can, like 100 miles an hour on this bike. And he goes up and he flips the motorcycle over once, twice, 3 times, and then he pulls a chute, and the motorcycle had a chute too, and the two of them are floating down into the valley. Don't think I'm going to get there. But check in with yourself and ask yourself, what is it that I could do that I've always wanted to do? Is it bungee jumping? I don't know. That's scary and a little bit dangerous. Is it going to a kickboxing or boxing gym with people you've never met, instructors you've never worked with before? Maybe. I'm sure P90X was scary and a little bit dangerous at first, but you did it. The power of 4. Oh my God, I'm so used to P90X. I want to do that. It may be time to move on, something new, something different. Here's the bottom line. If you're not challenging yourself as you progress through life, you're just going to get old like everybody else at the same rate that everybody else gets old. And if that's what you want, and you can stay pumped and happy and joyful with that, I don't know. You're going to have to get a lobotomy along the way, I think. You know what I mean? And so scary and a little bit dangerous is just asking you to see if you want to challenge yourself. Start small, start teeny, tiny, okay? And just make your way to doing it. I mean, another example is my friend Uger. Uger came to a ski yoga retreat with Ted and I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. He came just to do the yoga. And between the morning yoga and the afternoon yoga, he was going to snowshoe or sit and read all day. And we said, no, that's not happening, dude. I don't even think he had ski clothes. We got him a helmet, we got him gloves, we got rented boots, rented skis, rented poles. And now Uger skis double blacks with me here in Jackson Hole. You know what I mean? We kind of shoved it down his throat, but he was open to it. And we gave him a safe lane. We gave him safe lanes. We didn't just throw him down the steep. We just started small, showed him the basics. Steve Holmson was his teacher, and if you don't know Steve, he's in X2 and some other stuff. He's got a program on Power Nation. Good man, good stuff, very smart, great instructor. So that's it. That's it. Do you want to challenge yourself? Keep doing it. Lots of change is mandatory. All right, sorry, that's part of change is mandatory. So you have to decide. All right, we're going to get into the food thing now. And this is a dangerous territory for me because there are so many different opinions about how to eat better so that you're not only losing the weight. Again, it's not about the losing the weight thing, as I said. It's really about what you want to feed your whole body, because it affects your brain, it affects all your internal organs, it affects the quality of your skin, it affects the inflammation that's in your digestive system and in your joints. That's what food does. And I had an amazing conversation with Michelle Pettis the other night. She was a week ago tonight. And look, here's what my food thing shifts. I'm going to just eat whatever. This is way back when, because I'm fit and I'm strong and I'm young and I have a great metabolism. So I'm going to cheat like crazy. And, I look pretty good and I'm pretty active. But I got older. Oh, time keeps on ticking like it will until you're gone. And I noticed that that kind of eating whatever just was a problem. So I talked to some experts, and then I tried vegetarianism for a while. That kind of worked and didn't work. And then I never did paleo or primal stuff. I wasn't like a super meat guy, but I liked I liked my steaks, and I liked my chicken, and I liked my fish. And then I was a flexitarian forever. You know what I mean? Like whole foods, but all whole foods. All whole foods. And then for whatever reason, there was this big, a lot of documentaries about veganism, and all these professional athletes that became vegan, and their inflammation came way down. And then my buddy Scott Morgan did it for like 2 weeks, and then he just kept going, and it's working like crazy for him. Now, the first time I tried veganism failed miserably because I wasn't getting enough protein. I was eating too many vegan crackers and cookies, and it said vegan on the box. Too many boxes. Too many bags with the word vegan on them. Still processed, you know what I mean? And then I had a lot of stress with my veganism, and then I got Ramsay-Hunt syndrome. I'm not saying that the veganism caused the Ramsay-Hunt syndrome. I'm just saying that at that point, being a vegan under that much stress with not enough the right kind of protein wrecked me, completely wrecked me. And so, then I got all the blood work, and then it took me forever to recover, and yada, yada, yada. And then there's certain foods I got tested for. And meat and fish and chicken were on the okay list. Cashews weren't, sesame seeds weren't, tomatoes weren't, wheat, soy, corn, and dairy wasn't. And then when I made that dietary shift, things improved for me. And so where am I now? Well, let me say this. Where was I before I had that conversation with Michelle last week? Plant-based. I have a plant-based home food delivery. So meals come to the house, and they're all plant-based. And it's like, whatever, heat them up and eat them. You know what I mean? But I was falling back into that vegan cookies and crackers and chips thing. And my inflammation was down. My knees weren't hurting anymore. But I was dealing with fatigue again. Now, it wasn't like I had Epstein-Barr. I wasn't taking naps all the time like I needed to back in the day. But I just noticed that, I had a six-pack and permanent love handles. And that's not a good look. You know what I mean? But then again, I'm getting into the aesthetics. I am a guy. I am a human. I do have an ego. There's no question about that. And so I was listening to Michelle. Every time she looks at food, does this food have the nutrients that I need to serve me and help me be healthy? Is this good for me? Is this good for me? And man, I'm not even going to tell you the brand, but they're small, vegan, gluten-free vegan cookies. I have 1 or 2 a night. There are a lot of cauliflower chips and crackers and stuff that are, that have whatever. And I got here to Jackson Hole, and I went to shopping, and all the usual, it was trippy, man. I'm going to just tell you that it's just a weird thing that you get information from the strangest places. Here's this woman I don't even know, and I have this incredible conversation with her, and just listening to her story, that's all I needed. I just needed to hear from her. And when I went shopping here, I bought blueberries, and I bought strawberries, and I bought blackberries, and I bought raspberries, and I bought a bunch of nuts, mixed nuts. And I've been snacking on single ingredient, yummy foods ever since. Now, I've lost 6 pounds in 5 days. Not my intention. But it just goes to show you that all that crap all that vegan, healthy, processed food matters. It matters, regardless of what it says on the front of the box, regardless of what it says on the side of the box, and regardless of what it says on the back of the box. So here's what's crazy. I skied 3 days in a row. Day 1 and day 2 were like half days, but there's nobody here on the mountain. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, right? Get on the chair, up, get on the chair, up. I covered the whole mountain. The last day, I started at 9 and I came off the mountain at 4:45 p.m., 9 a.m. to 4:45. And I was with a ski instructor who was like, let's get in the trees, let's get in the steep stuff, let's get in the narrow stuff. My adrenal glands and my cortisol levels were like, full blast, just, because I could have, scary and a lot dangerous is where I was. But I was with a good instructor who knew what he was doing, and he walked me through it. And I probably burnt 3,000 trillion calories that day. I mean, it was crazy. But I was able to keep going. I was fueled properly all day. I had my electrolytes with me. I did it at lunch. I ate a super healthy lunch. I would have probably cheated a little bit if I felt like I earned it. And I was waiting to be, cramping all night long, and I didn't. And I know it was the food. And the title of this, which I should have said early on, is every morsel matters. Every morsel. Not just some of them, all of them. And you have to decide, and look, there's an ebb and flow over the course of months and years and decades of how you eat, and you overeat and you undereat and you diet and you don't diet. I mean, that's just almost all of us. And I'm no different than any of you. I've always been experimenting. In this eat only super nutritious food phase I've been in for like a week, I don't know. But right here, right now, it seems that when I think every morsel matters, my energy is up, the quality of my sleep improves, my skin looks better. Everything about what you want to be is better. So I'm afraid to cheat again. I'm afraid to have the vegan cookie. I'm afraid to have the cauliflower crackers. You know what I mean? I like the way this feels right now. And this means I'm not the 90-10 guy right now. I'm the 98-2% guy right now. 98% of what I eat is healthy, nutritious, mineral and vitamin filled food. Single ingredient stuff, So you have to figure out where you're at. I mean, if you're still struggling with your weight and everything else, this is a level of discipline that some people just can't get there. Cannot get there. But I bet you could try for a week, see how you feel. Forget about how you look. Forget about the numbers on the scale. Oh, don't do that now. Eat this, because if you got the other stuff in the house, I almost swore. If you got the other stuff in the house, it's going to tempt you, and you're going to eat it, and you're going to, right? So give it to your kids, give it to your neighbors, get rid of it, don't get it in your house, and go shopping and get the good stuff. Get the nuts, get the berries, get the, the healthy, super healthy, clean. Doesn't have to be plant-based, whatever you want to do. But just make sure that it's as nutritious as it possibly can be so it feeds your body properly. That's all I'm going to say about that. All right. This next one is, by the way, we're on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it's entitled this. Are you ready? Bitch less, adapt more. Now, this one's for me. This one's for Uncle Tony here. Because, if anybody, do you live on planet Earth? How about you? Anybody? Earth? You on Earth? I'm on Earth. You guys on Earth? Earth is hard. Earth is hard. Even if you do everything right, guess what? Still hard. And there's stuff going on in the house, stuff going on at work, stuff going on with you and your approach to various things in your life. And even when you feel like you've asked all the right questions and you've done everything right and you're full steam ahead and you've chosen all the right words and phrases and it still goes to crap. It's still massive mistakes are made. Unanticipated bumps in the road still occur. And it happens over and over and over and over and over every day. It's relentless sometimes. And you feel like, when am I going to get a break? Give me a break, man. Now look at me. Look at this house you bought me. Look at my second house that you bought me. It's pretty nice in here. All right. Now, when I was up to the age of 46, living in a 2-bedroom apartment, and I could barely afford the rent every month, and I had credit card bills that were maxed out. And my 1966 Mustang convertible with 18,755,000,000,000 miles on it that needed, I don't know how many engines and transmissions I put in that thing. But it looked cool. I looked cool in it. Probably I should have bought a Toyota Corolla. It would have much better. But there was a lot of ego there, a lot of insecurity there, a lot of, like, winging it. I was winging it back then. I had some celebrity clients, which was kind of cool. I wasn't a go-go dancer at Chippendales anymore. Yeah, that was the thing. I wasn't waiting tables anymore. That was the thing. I wasn't making furniture for myself and for my friends out of construction pine. I wasn't working as the assistant manager at the Oak Tree Men's Clothing Store anymore. But I was still overspending on stuff I didn't need, and I was lonely. I don't think I had a partner. They came and went. You know what I mean? I was just picking the wrong people, and but it seemed like there was less pressure then. It seemed like a lot of pressure because a lot of times, like, oh my God, I got to go 10 bar. I got to go do mime at the pier so I can make an extra $110 so I can pay my rent this month. It was that kind of stuff. But by the way, regardless of where you are in your life as you progress forward, it just keeps piling on. It just keeps coming. And my wife and I, we were able to afford our other house because the pool was so screwed up. I never had a pool in my life. I go, oh my God, I don't even want a pool, but there's a pool here. And we could afford the house because they didn't disclose how bad it was. It was literally sinking, right? It was crooked. It was like that. And so we found out, and we had somebody go check it out, and they had to disclose that to everybody else, and it sat in the market for a very long time. And then we got it for a steal because of the price they asked for, we couldn't afford. And then I just said, okay, here's a crazy number, and they took it. That was like one of those, roll the dice and see what happens. So we've been saving our pennies and our dollars, and we finally, after 8 years of living in the house, got a remodel. And the guys who did the remodel kind of screwed it up, and they've covered up a pipe, and it was leaking everywhere, and it was losing water, and we spent a bunch of money already, and then we had to have the thing inspected, and then they didn't know the answer, and another guy came and said it's screwed up over here, and then two different groups of people were blaming each other about what was wrong. You know what I'm saying? So you're like, oh yeah, nice 1% problems, pal. And it's all your fault it's all your fault, by the way. I guess I'm digressing, and I shouldn't be. And I guess the point I'm trying to say here is that life is hard and it's relentless, and everybody has their issues, and you have a choice. You have a choice. You can bitch or you can adapt. You know what I mean? You can ask the right questions. You can ask for what you need, and you have to keep moving forward. And you have to decide whether you want to take all this stuff on with a lot of anger and a lot of frustration and a lot of finger pointing, or if you just want to understand that this is how it's going to go. This is how it's going to go. And every friend that I have, if you sit them down and say, how's it going? And they'll say, hey, yeah, it's going okay. But when you get into the weeds, like, how's it really going? Like, how's it? Well, and then you get the list and you understand that, yeah, they're struggling as well. And everybody's at different places in their life. Some are younger, some are older. And I noticed that the ones that get through it, bitch less and adapt more. And what does that require? You know what I mean? Like, it's okay to sort of, hey, can I talk to you about this thing? It's really kind of bumming me out. Let me tell you what's going on. You know what I mean? And make that brief. Make that little conversation or exchange short. Don't make it all day and all night and all the time and all week and the whole month and blah, right? It just means that you're focusing on the problem. You're not focusing on the solution. And it's okay to be a little, you know what I mean? I'm not saying you have to turn into a robot here and just, be a supercomputer and just, like be AI and just solve it all like instantly, because we're human beings and we're vulnerable and we have emotions, and those emotions are real and you can't deny those emotions. That's just part of life. And so for me, the reason why this is a big one for me is because I have a tendency, because the Hortons, this is what we do a little bit. You know what I mean? It's in the DNA a little. And we struggle with getting right to the solution. Like, oh, this is bad, that is wrong, they screwed up, those numbers are incorrect. We don't have, I thought we had that much in the bank. Oh, we don't even have a third of that. What? Okay, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? And then maybe you can figure some of this stuff out yourself, but chances are you're probably going to have to go to a source outside of yourself. Whoever it is. Who do you know? What can you ask? Big one for me. I don't know if if a lot of you, this one resonates, but here's the lesson. Notice if you're spending more time bitching and whining and complaining and less time about finding answers for the things that you're struggling with. I could have just said that. Because that's it. That's it. All right. And there's another one as I get down the list that gets into more detail, and I'll explain that in a minute. Okay. Next. It's entitled, It's Not About You. And I know I've covered this one before, and I think this was in my do right list. And a lot of times, we're like with me, when I first started doing personal development stuff, because, when I was in college and first years out in California, you know what I mean? I was so lost, and I was so scared, and I was so broke, and I was so lonely. And I'm not bitching and whining and moaning right now. It just was. It's who I was. But I read my first book, personal development book in college called Your Erroneous Zones. And the same author, and I can't remember his name, just look up Your Erroneous Zones. I think there's a turtle on the cover. Or Looking Out for Number One. So first one, Your Erroneous Zones. Second one, Looking Out for Number One. And I had never read a personal development book in my life. It's just somebody, dude, you're so screwed up in so many ways. Read this book. It was a friend of mine in college. It was my roommate in college. Read this book, and there might be something in here for you. And every page I read, I was like, what is this? Like, I've never heard any of this stuff from anybody before that I had ever known or met or lived with or anything. It was just all solutions, all like, here's the problem, here's what you do about it. Here's the problem. Stop doing this, start doing that. It was the whole book, and it was thick. It was a paperback book. Your Erroneous Zones. No. Here we go. I'm scanning here. Oh, look, you guys are, a lot going on. The next one was Looking Out for Number One. And then I would read some of these books, and I would see who the author was. And then I would do some research to find out that author was speaking locally. And I would go to the, whatever. I didn't have any money then, but I would, put it on a credit card and go listen to these people in person. Total strangers with other total strangers. Sometimes, sometimes it was 20 people. Sometimes it was 500 people, in these big halls. And I learned that the more personal development that I did, like learning how to not waste money anymore, learning how to, live in reality as opposed to living the fantasy version of my life, which I was doing. You know what I mean? I was not, and I wasn't as truthful. Truth was true. The truth was an option, and I only used the truth in conversation and in situations where when it was making me look good. And then when things didn't make me look good, I made stuff up to make me look good. Because I was afraid to be vulnerable, and I was afraid to tell the truth because I thought people wouldn't like me or would think I'm a fraud or whatever. I was just so I was what I call 33 and a third man. 33 and a third of what I would say was true. 33 and a third of what I would say was a gross exaggeration, and 33 and a third of what I would say was made up. AKA lying. And if you notice it, lying is very popular these days. You notice that? A lot of lying, a lot of make-believe, a lot of fake stuff going on out there. And there's a lot of people I know people in my life who lie all the time. I know they're lying all the time. All my friends know they're lying all the time. And I don't know if they believe what they're saying. Like you could just kind of like, does so-and-so, let me ask so-and-so. No, that's not true. Well, why would he say that? I don't know. it's crazy that people are still doing that, because it's a rabbit hole that if you never get out of it, it makes life brutal. There's a lot of anger there. There's a lot of denial in that kind of stuff. There's a lot of conflict with people because you're having to defend all the bullshit. Excuse me, that's the first time I swore. I apologize. And so personal development for me was pushing out all the bad behavior, all the garbage, all the nonsense, all the made up stuff. And it forced me to be vulnerable. It forced me to be in the moment. It forced me to be real. And it forced me to start to go to work. It forced me to clean the slate of the nonsense and the waste of time, wasting a lot of time, lots of procrastination, a lot of denial. That was where I was at. And so what happens when you get to that place where all that goes away and you start to work on yourself to a certain degree and you're vulnerable, you're opening yourself up to opportunities that would never exist if you're still in the jokester state that I was in. Like all of a sudden, all these opportunities were coming my way. And you know, what is luck? Luck is opportunity meeting readiness. Well, when I was full of crap all the time, opportunities came, but I wasn't ready because I was full of crap. Can you dig? And that's not easy to do. A lot of people stay in that pretend land to the day they die. You know what I mean? And they don't have to, but you know what I mean? Clearing the deck, becoming vulnerable, feeling like you have to start all over again. That's the superhero stuff. That's cool when you see people go through that. That's really amazing, right? And so here's the point I'm trying to make. When you finally get there, personal development is very personal. But when you've arrived to the land of reality and honesty and truth and fairness, and it's not about you anymore. Your job, not based on the fact that you have to be a mentor or a coach or a teacher or a muse to anyone, but your behavior alone, your transformation from who you are to you are now allows you to be the coach, the mentor, the muse for others. And it's not like people have to sign up for your course. They're just going to see that you're this very authentic person and you're living by example. And so, in my opinion, you have an obligation to share that honesty and truth and change that you've gone through. And that can be extraordinarily inspiring to the people around you. You know what I mean? People will start asking you for your help. They'll see where you were, drinking too much, lying all the time, being super lazy, procrastinating a lot, making excuses for not going to work that are fake. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I hurt my back, whatever, because you just don't feel like going there because you're too hungover to go in. Like you're that person that lives small. You're living small, and then you clean house, and now you're living large. And when anybody sees that, it is not about you anymore. Your job is to apply all the things that you've learned forever. All right, because you know better now. You're a different person now. You're a smarter person now. You're an authentic person now. You're a person who's living in the moment now. You're a person who is obviously happier, more joyful now because you're not full of crap anymore. And people see that and go, well, show me the way. And that could be physical, mental, emotional, financial, relationships, whatever. You know what I mean? And that's what happened to me. The only reason why that I'm fairly decent at this fitness thing is because I fixed the broken parts in me that were forcing me to live small. You know what I mean? And by the way, ask Shauna, not perfect. I fall back into the screw up zone all the time. But I can feel that I'm presently in a, because what happens is you clean house and you grow a little and then you live here. And then you're here for a while. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's months or years. And especially if your finances improve and you begin to think that money's the thing, because it ain't, not even close. And so your ego gets out of control And then, money, power, and fame, they'll turn you into a worse person than you were sometimes. And then, you have to get knocked down, and there you go again. But I feel like, I've been doing this, but I've been moving in that direction. And I've been kind of here for a while. And now I feel like there's another thing happening to me, a little shift up again. And by the way, this was good. I was good. You know what I mean? I make a nice living. I have a wonderful wife. I have great friends. You know what I mean? I still have a lot of things that make me crazy, but I'm trying to fix that. Like the diet shift that just happened to me. Oh, you know what I mean? Like, can I? And it's scary because I don't know if I can sustain it. I know intuitively that it's better. Cutting out the cookies, the crackers, and the chips, even though they're vegan and gluten-free, and eating berries and nuts is better. It's healthier. And I know that. You know what I mean? But the cravings aren't as strong. And there's other things in my relationship with Shauna that there's a little, hope she notices. I think she does. Things that I'm doing that I used to hate to do. I don't want to do that. It's stupid. Can't do that anymore. Can't do that. It doesn't serve me or her, our relationship or our life together. Step it up, buddy. And then when I step it up, I go, especially with exercise. Like I got this new running routine that I never used to do. And I used to hate running. And now I do this thing and I actually kind of almost enjoy it. And adding animal flow to my plyo workouts. Transformation. Change is mandatory. I mean, 17, 18 years of doing the same plyo. I mean, I'd go faster and I'd go slower and I would go deeper range of motion. I change the order once in a while. That's enough. But no. Almost 20 years later, we're changing this thing. And if you're afraid to change and you're afraid to grow and you're afraid to learn about yourself, then you never get the opportunity to be able to be somebody special to other folks. You know what I mean? So you really have to have, basically, personal development is helping you get your act together to the point where people notice. So it's no longer about you. It's about what you can do for everybody else who's looking for your advice. They have to be looking for it and they have to be asking for it, because we all know the worst kind of advice to give is the kind that's never been asked for in the first place, because your greatest intentions are received with resentment. So what happens is, try and do something nice for others and it backfires. All right? Like when I first met my wife, you should. The words "you should" were coming out of my mouth. I should shut up. That's what I should do. Because my "you shoulds," even though I love her so much and I wanted to help her with this or that or the other, you know what I mean? And she'll be ready when she's ready. You know, there were 595 other things that were so perfect about her that why don't I just shut up and leave her alone about when she wants to have a friggin' cheeseburger? Shut up. Shut up and let her enjoy it. She wants to have a cocktail, even though I don't drink at all. Have the cocktail. Don't be such a drag, pal. You know what I'm saying? Hold on, there's something happening here I want to see. Don't go away. Boop, 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 boop. Yeah. All right. It's not about you. Hey, we're almost there. Commune and connect. Now, this was on the do right list. And this, I'm not even going to spend much time on there. Get rid of your crappy friends. Get rid of them. Like, be nice to them. Whatever. Just like if they're not doing really fun, cool, interesting, fun things, or they're not happy and joyful all the time and training hard and eating like halfway decent food and trying things and going places, and they're just bitching and whining and complaining and miserable. And what are you doing with those people? Like, what do you think? You're going to live to 1,000, and you just eventually, when they pass away and you're 92, you're going to hang out with new cool people? You know, these are hard conversations to have with people. And it was used to be, and with me, it's like, hey man, yeah, dude, I think maybe we should take some time off. It seems like you're working some stuff out, and I don't want to give you any advice that you're not asking for, and you're not asking for me for any advice. You seem like you're just struggling. If you ask me, like you're honest about it, and you're truthful, and you really want my advice, I'll share with you what I know. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm here for you. But if that never comes in your direction, you never get that, hey man, I need your help thing. Seriously, and I really want to change. I know I'm drinking too much, or too lazy, or or whatever, or being mean to my spouse. I mean, like, if that never comes, you can't help. You can't help them. But then again, if it never comes, what are you doing with them? And the hard one is, and I get this a lot. What if it's my spouse, and they're just like an anchor in my life?